Hello BookTube, this is the last book haul of 2025. This book haul comprises two orders, the first from Amazon and the second an earlier order from Powell's, the great bookstore in Portland, Oregon. First up is Chimera by John Barth. A National Book Award winner, this body comic trio of novellas finds John Barth injecting his signature wit into three tales many times told. That of Scheherazade, storyteller of the 1001 Nights, of Perseus, slayer of the Medusa, and of Bellerophon, rider of Pegasus and slayer of the Chimera. So I had an earlier edition of this collection. It was the mass market paperback from the 70s that I bought in San Francisco about 20 years ago. I read it and I think I liked it, but it's long since fallen out of my collection, and I've been wanting to re-add it to my collection ever since, and that kick in the rear end came more persistent when Steve Donahue hauled the hardcover version a few weeks ago in one of his bridal trips. So this isn't the edition that I had, obviously. This is a newer trade paperback, but I'm quite happy to have it. And next up is Matter 210 by Hwang Sok-yong, translated from the Korean by Sora Kim Russell and Youngjae Josephine Bay. In contemporary Seoul, a laid-off worker stages a months-long sit-in atop a 16-story factory chimney. During the long and lonely nights, he talks to his ancestors, chewing on the meaning of life, on wisdom passed down the generations. Through the lives of those ancestors, 3 generations of railroad workers, Matter 210 vividly portrays the struggles of ordinary Koreans, starting from the Japanese colonial era, continuing through liberation, and right up to the 21st century. It is at once a gripping account of a nation's longing to be free from oppression, a lyrical folk tale that reflects the blood, sweat, and tears shed by modern industrial laborers, and the culmination of Hwang's career, a masterpiece 30 years in the making. A true voice of a generation, Hwang shows again why he is unmatched when it comes to depicting the roots and reality of a divided nation and bringing to life the trials and tribulations of the Korean people. So this was longlisted for last year's Booker International, and this was one of the ones that really grabbed my attention, and I've been wanting it ever since, and quite happy to finally add it to my collection. So on to the Powell's side of the haul. And sticking with translated fiction, I've been in a translated literature kick lately. First up is the Book Censor's Library by Bothayna Al-Essa. Sorry if I butchered that. Translated from the Arabic by Ranya, Abdelrahman, and Sawad, Hussain. The new book censor hasn't slept soundly in weeks. By day, he combs through manuscripts at a government office, looking for anything that would make a book unfit to publish, allusions to queerness, unapproved religions, any mention of life before the revolution. By night, pilfered novels pile up in the house he shares with his wife and daughter, and the characters of literary classics crowd his dreams. As the siren song of forbidden reading continues to beckon, he descends into a netherworld of resistance fighters, undercover booksellers, and outlaw librarians trying to save their history and culture. Reckoning with the global threat to free speech and the bleak future it all but guarantees, Bothayna Al-Essa marries the steely dystopia of Orwell's 1984 with the madcap absurdity of Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. The Book Censor's Library is a warning call and a love letter to stories and the delicious act of losing oneself in them. So this was shortlisted for last year's National Book Award in Translated Literature. And you will go after Barth. Because while I'm doing this, I will be alphabetizing them. Nope. You go before Barth. Been one of those mornings. So next up is Cat's Eye by Margaret Atwood. Cat's Eye is the story of Elaine Risley, a controversial painter who returns to Toronto, the city of her youth, for a retrospective of her art. Engulfed by vivid images of the past, she reminisces about a trio of girls who initiated her into the fierce politics of childhood and a secret world of friendship, longing, and betrayal. Elaine must come to terms with her own identity as a daughter, a lover, an artist, and a woman. But above all, she must seek release from her haunting memories. Disturbing, hilarious, and compassionate, Cat's Eye is a breathtaking novel of a woman grappling with the tangled knot of her life. So this is a novel that I have unfinished business with, as I do with much of Margaret Atwood's fiction that I have attempted. And you will go after Al-Essa. Next up is From the New World, Poems 1976 to 2014 by Jorie Graham. Much awaited and long needed, From the New World, a sequence of poems from Jorie Graham's prior 11 books, creates a startlingly fresh trajectory through books whose brilliance and far-reaching innovations have been a significant influence on the landscape of contemporary poetry, both in the United States and abroad. Part spiritual autobiography, part survival manual, From the New World tracks what it is to attempt wakefulness in this our unprecedented historical, social, and ecological crisis. Life as we have known it, both in our persons and on the globe, rises in all its terror and deep mystery from these pages. How are we to be responsible, the book asks? How attend to drastic disappearance and still love? We finally have in one volume the stunning story Graham has written to keep both art and the human spirit instantaneously yet enduringly alive. So this is a new selected edition of her poetry. I have an earlier one that I really enjoy, so quite happy to have this one. And you will go after Barth, but before Hwang. Next is The Dove in the Belly by Jim Grimsley, his latest collection of fiction. At the University of North Carolina, Ronnie has made some friends, kept his secrets, survived dorm life, and protected his heart until he can't. Ben is Ronnie's opposite. He's big and solid where Ronnie is small and slight. Ben's at UNC on a football scholarship, confident with a steady stream of girlfriends and an explosive temper always simmering. Ben's aware of the overwhelming effect he has on Ronnie. So easy to tease Ronnie, throw playful insults, but it all feels somehow loaded. Meanwhile, Ronnie's mother has moved to Vegas with her latest husband, and Ben's mother is fighting advanced cancer. A bubble forms around the two, as surprising to Ronnie as it is to Ben. Within it, their connection ignites physically and emotionally. But what will happen when the tensile strength of a bubble is tested, when the rest of life intervenes? The Dove in the Belly is about the electric, dangerous, sometimes tender, but always powerful attraction between two very different boys. But it's also about the full cycles of love and life and how they open in us the twin capacities for grief and joy. So this is Jim Grimsley's latest novel. He was rather more active, I think, in the 90s and very early 2000s. I'm not entirely sure exactly how active he's been since. But it was by happenstance I discovered that he had a new novel out. So the next two books are by Yukio Mishima. Let's check the translator. No, you are not on the cover. So Temple of the Dawn is translated from the Japanese by E. Del Saunders and Cecilia Segawa Seigle. Yukio Mishima's The Temple of Dawn is the third novel In his masterful tetralogy, The Sea of Fertility, here Shigekuni Honda continues his pursuit of the successive reincarnations of Kiyoaki Motsugi, his childhood friend. Traveling in Thailand in the early 1940s, Shigekuni Honda, now a brilliant lawyer, is granted an audience with a young Thai princess, an encounter that radically alters the course of his life. In spite of all reason, he is convinced she is the reincarnated spirit of his friend Kiyoaki. As Honda goes to great lengths to discover for certain if his theory is correct, The Temple of Dawn becomes the story of one man's obsessive pursuit of a beautiful woman and his equally passionate search for enlightenment. And The Decay of the Angel, also by Yukio Mishima, and let's see if it's the same translators. Translated from the Japanese by Edward G. Seidensticker. It is the late 1960s, and Honda, now an aged and wealthy man, once more encounters a person he believes to be a reincarnation of his friend Kiyoaki, this time restored to life as a teenage orphan, Toru. Adopting the boy as his heir, Honda quickly finds that Toru is a force to be reckoned with. Then the final novel of this celebrated tetralogy weaves together the dominant themes of the previous three novels in the series: the decay of Japan's courtly tradition, the essence and value of Buddhist philosophy and aesthetics, and underlying all, Mishima's apocalyptic vision of the modern era. So these are the third and fourth volumes of the Sea of Fertility tetralogy, and a number of booktubers are coming together to read this tetralogy in the new year. So I've gone ahead and ordered all 4 volumes so I can participate. Next up is Fences by August Wilson. In the powerful, stunning, dramatic work that won August his first Pulitzer Prize, Troy Maxson has gone through life in a country where to be proud and black was to face pressures that could crush a man, body and soul. But the 1950s are yielding to the new spirit of liberation in the 1960s. It's a spirit that is making him a stranger, angry and afraid, in a world he never knew, and to a wife and son he understands less and less. So, Fences is a selection for Angelia's endless drama project for 2026. So I decided to go ahead and pick this up so I can at least in part participate in some of her reading as well. And finally, a Taiwan Travelogue by Youngjae, translated from the Chinese by Lin King. May 1938. The young novelist Aoyama Chizuko has sailed from her home in Nagasaki, Japan, and arrived in Taiwan. She's been invited there by the Japanese government ruling the island, though she has no interest in their official banquets or imperialist agenda. Instead, Chizuko longs to experience real island life and to taste as much of its authentic cuisine as her famously monstrous appetite can bear. Soon a Taiwanese woman, who is younger even than she is, and whose name shares characters with hers, is hired as her interpreter and makes her dreams come true. The charming, erudite, meticulous Chizuru arranges Chizuku's travels all over the land of the South, and also proves to be an exceptional cook. Over scenic train rides and braised pork rice, lively banter and winter melon tea, Chizuko grows infatuated with her companion, but something causes Chizuru to keep her distance. It's only after a heartbreaking separation that Chizuko begins to grasp what something is. Disguised as a translation of a rediscovered Japanese text, Taiwan Travelogue unburies lost colonial histories and deftly reveals how power, dynamics inflect our most intimate relationships. So the translation is from the Mandarin Chinese. I was kind of worried about that while I was reading the back of the book. So, this is the final book haul of 2025. As you can see, I have been in something of a kick with fiction, poetry, and drama. I'm not entirely sure whether or not that is going to continue into 2026. I will, of course, be reporting back in future book hauls for 2026. So until then, I need to go ahead and sign off and put these books with the earlier December book haul so that I can later on put all of them alphabetically into with the rest of that collection, which I might do while I have some scones in the oven. I'm going to be making scones for breakfast today. This is an earlier video because I've got something going on when I normally film. So anyway, BookTube, until I see you tomorrow with Weekly Reads, thank you and have a great morning. And stay safe.